This is a breaking news alert from 6 News.
We are on the scene of breaking news in Lansing. There's a heavy police presence at Pattongill Academy School. Now, a parent there just told our Veronica Gabriel that a police officer told them there was a shooting at the school. Now, police dispatchers say the school is on lockdown right now.
We're here for you with the very latest on breaking news at Pattongill Middle School in Lansing, where a shooting was reported less than an hour ago.
We go there now live to Veronica Gabriel for the very latest. Veronica, what do we know?
Sherry, Jorma, as you can see right now, there's still a heavy police presence out here, but what we do know is that the kids are safe in the gym. I'm going to step out of the way so you can take a look. I just spoke with one young boy who says he was in the area with his mom when he heard a loud boom and saw the glass shatter on a black SUV. He says that he saw a little girl in the back seat with blood in her face and an adult drive off.
We have another update on the breaking news that we've been bringing you tonight.
You're taking a look at a picture of a black Chrysler Pacifica right now that's outside of Sparrow Hospital. Now, we have a crew there on the scene that tell us police are all around working the area where that car is parked, and that vehicle appears to be a match to the one that witnesses described to our Veronica Gabriel, saying they saw it outside of Pattongill Academy, where a teenager was shot less than 2 hours ago.
We have a whole crew ready to update you on our winter weather conditions and the effects that they're having right now on mid-Michigan. We're going to start with our chief meteorologist, David Young. David, what's our status right now?
We're still seeing heavy snow out there, certainly, and that's going to continue for a while longer before things get a little better late tonight. Take a look at Live Storm Tracker 6 Doppler radar. The darker blues indicating some heavier bursts of snow. That is beginning to slowly wind down, but it's going to take a while before that process eventually sees a return to more typical conditions, which is partly cloudy skies, and that's what's on the way for late tonight. Outside this afternoon, braving the elements, meteorologist Jim Geyer. He joins us live right now. Jim, how's it looking out there?
Well, right now we continue with the pretty steady snow that's falling across just about all the mid-Michigan area. Keeping an eye on the wind direction, too. As you can see, the snowflakes flying across here, still coming in from the east-southeast at this time. So we definitely are on the cold side of the system as well.
Those snowy roads outside were the scene of a major accident this afternoon involving a car and a semi-truck. Our 6 News crews were there. It happened around 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the eastbound lanes of I-69 near the Woodbury Road exit. Now, we don't know right now how the accident happened, but a Volkswagen Golf ended up underneath the semi-truck. As the snow continues to fall, the roads will become increasingly dangerous, and our Aaron Dimmick talked with the Ingham County Sheriff's Office today about what you should and should not do in a dangerous situation.
Sliding off the road or getting into a crash can be a helpless feeling, but the best thing you can do is stay inside your vehicle and call for help. Sheriff Scott Rigglesworth says you could get hit by other vehicles if you get out of your car after a crash, leading to even more crashes. He says when there's an emergency on the road, your car is the most protected place you can be.
Sherry, MDOT has a feature on its website called My Drive. It lets you check in before you head out on the road to track snowplows, to see traffic reports, messages, construction, and a lot more. But beyond just messages like you can find on map apps on smartphones, you can check in via cameras. The cameras are on the dashboard of truck plows, the snow. It shows a picture of what the driver sees out the front window and refreshes every 60 to 90 seconds.
As the snow continues to fall, people are looking to grab the closest shovels and snow blowers to clear off their driveways, and that has led to many to the closest hardware stores today to make a purchase. Our Alicia Bergio is live outside braving the elements right now. Alicia, I know that you checked in with one local store today. What did they have to say there?
Well, Sherry, I took a drive to the Home Depot in Okemos to find out just how busy they really are on days like today. It turns out they'll see between 500 to 700 customers by the end of today on the hunt for snow blowers, shovels, salt, and even sand. Now, I asked the department supervisor how the Home Depot anticipates days with large amounts of snowfall. He says they typically start prepping when they find out there's a lot of snow in the forecast, so they'll bring out different snow blowers and shovels for customers to choose from.
There's a live view right now from meteorologist Eric Kostreva. He's been out in our Storm Tracker 6 chase unit watching the roads for you this afternoon. He joins us right now. Eric, where are you and what are you seeing out there?
Well, David, I was just on US 127 southbound. Thankfully, there were very little cars out on the roads. Many of the other major roadways, such as Grand River and Saginaw, still stop and go, with plenty of people probably trying to get home on the evening commute. Now, even though the roadways on US 127 looked a little bit better, actually am just getting off of US 127 now, and again, the major roadways are still snow covered. The only real way to see where you're going have been the tracks that have been made by many of those cars.
Take a look at this time lapse I captured earlier today. This is my drive into work, and as I put this in motion, secondary roads, as Eric was talking about, those were and are snow covered. As I was making my way closer to the station, getting onto Saginaw, you can kind of pick out a couple tracks there. It makes it a little bit easier to travel, and Saginaw at the time certainly had been plowed, so that made it a little bit easier for cars to stop and go, so travel not quite as tough. Now, the major highways, that's where MDOT's going to focus first, because that's where we have the highest volume of traffic. Well, today really was one of those incredible weather days. If you happen to watch the 5 o'clock earlier today, this was me on my live shot. I was standing there. It was raining very lightly, but I saw some higher reflectivity, some hard rain, some heavy rain moving in from the west. Here's what happened. Here's a look at the forecast for tonight. Look, for low temperatures, I don't know if you can hear that at home, but we are getting a solid, very heavy area right now of graupel and sleet coming down. In fact, come on out of the shot. Let's come back to the live shot here for just a minute. Zoom out, Jeremy. It is just pouring graupel and sleet out here. Get kind of a tight shot, Jeremy, on my umbrella here, and you can see it kind of bouncing off there. I mean, just incredible. This is what the radar looked like as the yellow showing up there right over downtown Lansing. That was indicative of some very heavy precipitation. And now normally we talk about rain, sleet, snow, freezing rain. Winter we see snow, summer we see rain, and we're in one of those in-between times right now. Here's what was happening today. Roughly 1,000 feet off the ground. Above that, temperatures below 32. Below it, temperatures were above 32. Near 40 degrees at my live shot earlier today. So it was snowing above us, and it melted as it fell into the warm layer. We were seeing just rain at the surface. But as you get a strong burst of precipitation coming through, it in effect brings that freezing level very close to the ground just because of the precipitation rate, and that's what we were seeing. It still has some time to melt, and that's when you get those little spongy snowflakes. We call those snow pellets, or what we were seeing today was in the form of graupel. So how does our typical fall foliage progress each year? I mean, typically in the summertime, it's warm outside, we have moisture. That's when we see the green leaves. They're green because of chlorophyll. That's what gives that dark, lush green appearance to our leaves. As we get into fall, though, the nights start to get longer, and as that happens, of course, our daytime highs are getting cooler. And it's that combination of the longer nights combined with the cool temperatures which triggers the change.
We continue our community crisis series tonight with a very emotional story of two local families battling the same heartbreaking addiction.
But as our Siobhan Klepfer shows us, their stories have a similar beginning, but a very different end.
He was a great little kid. God, he was a lot of fun. He was the funniest kid you ever met growing up. Good-natured, you know, never caused any problem whatsoever. He loved sports. He lived for sports.
He did very well in school. He was into sports. He liked to have fun, and he was always kind of joking. We always got compliments on how well behaved he was.
Both boys from loving families, both born and raised in Jackson County, both with their whole lives ahead of them, and both with a very dark secret.
He was a very even-tempered person. And when I saw that change a little bit, I got a little bit concerned. You know, he didn't want to hang around the house. He didn't want to be around the family. He, you know, it was really noticeable that something was going on with him.
Not being very talkative. When he did come home, he was here just for short periods of time, took off, you know, to be with friends.
Both Andy and Kaylin had gotten hooked on prescription pills. For Andy, it started soon after graduating high school and going to work for his dad. For Kaylin, it started in college. He'd been prescribed opioids to deal with the pain following 2 knee surgeries. Eventually, when the habit became too expensive, both sought a cheaper high and settled on heroin.
People are dying from this. You know, how do we fix this? When you're a child, you can put a Band-Aid on it and your child's okay. And it was pretty crazy. time.
My son hated the drug dealers. He hated them with a passion. He hated the drug. He hated everything about it.
What followed? Several rehab stays, then relapses, trouble with the law, and a need so strong that both would do just about anything to find their next fix.
So, Dad, you don't understand. You do not understand how powerful this drug is. It'll make you use on the day you know you got a drug test. It'll make you buy from a house that you know is under surveillance. It will control your life.
He said, Mom, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I can do this. You know, I don't know.
I get the phone call, you know, hey, you need to get over to the job site right away. I said, is it Andy? They said, yep, and it's bad. And there he is. He's laying on the ground, and the paramedics are trying to revive him, and sit and watch that for 30 minutes, you know. You wanna come across something that you never want to have to do, that would be it.
Andy died instantly, with the needle still in his arm. He was 24 years old.
God, if you're up there, if you can hear me, please help me, because I'm going crazy and I need your help.
That pivotal moment came inside yet another rehab center, this one in Lansing, and the one that would ultimately change Kalen's life. He had stayed sober for 30 days, and for the first time, he had asked a staff member for help. They told him to pray.
And I did that for 3, 4, 5 days. And I woke up on a day, I woke up after that, and that morning, I mean, it was as clear as day. That morning I woke up, I didn't want to use anymore. I didn't want to get high.
I feel so blessed to still have Kalen with us. He's irreplaceable. He has so much to offer. Such a great person. He's got a lot going on, and he's really worked hard. He's worked very hard to get where he is.
I wanted something else. I wanted life. I wanted joy, happiness, you know, the memories of a long, fruitful life. That's what I wanted.
Wow. Well, Kalen has been sober for 2 years now. He has a fiance, and they're both very busy planning their upcoming wedding.
Andy's dad started a nonprofit foundation called Andy's Angels, which helps support those battling addiction. Kalen has worked alongside Andy's Angels, sharing his story so that others won't have a similar one.
If you'd like more information on Andy's Angels, we do have a link under the Scene on 6 section of our website.
As more and more people turn to opioid drugs and heroin, those addicted are affecting many more people than just themselves. Some of them too tiny, too innocent, too brand new to protect themselves. When most babies enter the world here in this labor and delivery unit at Henry Ford Allegiance Hospital in Jackson, it's a joyous occasion. But for babies born to mothers addicted to drugs, it's anything but.
They can be very irritable. They can be very difficult to soothe. They can have a high-pitched cry. They can have tremors. They can be very, very jittery. They can have difficulty eating.
It's a heartbreaking issue, growing faster than these tiny newborns themselves. Mothers taking pills.
Tylenol with codeine, the Norco, the Vicodin, all of those.
Or using methadone or heroin while pregnant. Having babies who spend their first moments and days on this earth detoxing from drugs. As the department manager in the neonatal ICU at Sparrow Hospital, Sarah Collins sees these babies almost every day. She says it's hard to watch brand new bodies adjust to life without the drugs they were exposed to while in their mother's womb.
A lot of crying. They kind of do like a jittery shaking kind of thing. Their color is a little bit different as far as, you know, when you get cold and you look kind of purpley mottled, they'll get that way a little bit. And sometimes a lot of sweating, loose stools. So they get a lot of diaper rash, things like that. That's just uncomfortable for them.
Ironically, in severe cases, it's more drugs that help the babies get through.
Injuries are an unfortunate reality in the world of athletics, and the road to recovery can be a long one. I was playing basketball at Lansing Community College, and within a period of 2 years, I had 5 surgeries on my right shoulder. And then after my final surgery, towards the end of my sophomore season, is when my addiction really started to pick up.
According to the National Institute of Health, opioid misuse among high schoolers has dropped in the past 5 years. But athletes still abuse painkillers more often than their peers.
Started with the prescriptions. I was taking them as prescribed, and they were working to help my surgery. And then eventually it progressed into, well, if 1 works, then 2 will work better, and 3 will work better. And then it gets to the point where you feel that physical attachment to it.
And all too often, the first place people access those pills is in the comfort of home.
The kids in the high school level and the middle school level, they're not buying them from drug dealers. They're getting them from my medicine cabinet, your medicine cabinet.
2 out of 3 addicts gets their drugs from people they know, whether those people know it or not. Hirsch says holding on to opioids can turn a negligent relative into a drug dealer.
Are you going to risk not going to the doctor versus the risk of having your child become dependent on this drug, possibly even dying from this drug?
But there is something everyone can do to prevent this from happening. Just take any unused pills to any drop-off location, and then you just head over to the drop box where there will be a provided Sharpie so that you can black out any personal information, including name and address, and then it's as easy as dropping it in the box.
For an entire week, the 12 of us worked hours in the hot Kenyan sun. We started by digging up the rich soil, using primitive tools, and then moving boulders one by one, creating the foundation of a habitat home for Consolata. By midweek, we were mixing the mortar, shovel by shovel, and passing the red-fired bricks to be put into place, creating the walls for the 4-roomed home.
With a team like this, a house that should be done in like 8 weeks, we are able to speed up the construction of this home and ensure that Consolata can proudly and happily get into her home in probably 6 months, 6 weeks. And it will be amazing.
You are giving Consolata a second chance to live a better life.
Each day at the build site, we were greeted by the children living in this remote village. They came to learn about us.
It's the same as yours. It's very rare to have white people in a village in the middle of nowhere. And everybody has come to join in and appreciate what the Capital Region Habitat team has done and is doing.
And to watch us work. And if they found the courage to join in. It was something the adults took notice of.
The kids are very happy, and they love the time when the team has some time to take a break. And I've seen teams make songs with the kids. It's been amazing, and I'm sure this is going to be one experience that the kids will live not to forget.
And neither would we. The children didn't quite know what to think about this flying disc, but soon each one of them wanted to try throwing it. And then something magical happened when they saw bubbles for the very first time. The days spent working together during this remarkable week cemented the beginning of some lifelong friendships.
We are very much amazed how this team has easily blended in.
I'm very glad for the Habitat group, yes, and the villagers also.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Yes, I'm very happy too. May God bless you.
When the last brick was laid and it was time to say goodbye, there was much to celebrate.
We came to build a house. We built friends and families that will keep in our hearts forever.
Hundreds lined up early in the morning at the Lowe's store in Lansing to make sure they were guaranteed a Safety Day giveaway bag. This year, people lined up and pre-registered to have their smoke alarms installed for them at a later date by a member of their local fire department or volunteers from the Red Cross.
I don't want to do it wrong and have a fire and stuff like this in my house. That's why I want to have someone come in and check it out.
Fire officials say families often have questions about where to place their smoke alarms and how many they should have at home. So what do we need to know about home smoke alarms and installing them if we've got to do them ourselves?
Making sure families have working smoke alarms, making sure those smoke alarms are on inside and outside each sleeping area and on every level of the home. Smoke alarms expire after 10 years.
Jake, the fire safety dog, posed for pictures and even shook hands on Safety Day, but his primary job is to teach children what to do if a fire breaks out at home. And Jake was definitely a hit with the crowd. Here for you in Lansing, Mariah Harrison, 6 News. Well, hundreds of homes in the Jackson area are much safer today after our 6 News safety giveaway.
I just think it's a great cause. I've had a fire once before and it was really a scary experience, just from bad weather conditions, really dry.
It's stories like Denise's that inspired 6 News to host another round of Safety Day giveaways. People walked away from the Lowe's in Jackson with flashlights, first aid kits, coloring books, and temperature detecting rubber ducks for the bathtub.
Most useful probably is for my grandchildren, the duck, to make sure that they're safe.
Visitors registered to have smoke detectors installed in their homes by local fire officials, Red Cross representatives, and cadets from the Jackson Area Career Center.
We're going to be going door to door, helping install and doing whatever we're told needed to do and helping out where we can.
I'd have to say my favorite part of Safety Day had to be the fire safety bounce house, used to teach kids what to do in the event of a fire at home. We hope you join us for our next Safety Day giveaway, which is November 17th at the Lowe's in Lansing. Here for you in Jackson, Mariah Harrison, 6 News.
The registrar of Michigan State University resigned on Tuesday.
That's one day before a university investigation found that she violated the school's sexual misconduct policy. It's a story you'll only see here on 6 News.
The registrar's name is Nicole Rovig. She's been the person in charge of everything from registrations to class schedules and transcripts to diplomas since 2009. But she came under investigation after one of her employees said Rovig kissed her in the bathroom of a bar. And that's just one of several graphic details.
6 News reporter Alexandra Illich not only broke this story, but has an exclusive interview with a woman who says the registrar made advances toward her.
And Allie, I understand this didn't end well for her either.
That's right, Sherry and Lauren. The woman who accuses Registrar Nicole Rovig of kissing her got fired a few months later. The woman, who we're not identifying because of the sexual nature of her complaint, has reviews that say she was a good employee. But she thinks she got fired because of what happened on a very unusual night.
She came out of the bathroom with her shirt unbuttoned.
The woman says Nicole Rovig was ridiculously drunk during a night out with other school officials during a Big Ten Academic Alliance conference in Ann Arbor in October 2016. She says she helped Rovig to the bathroom, and that's when everything went downhill.
Her tank top was on, her belt was unbuckled, her pants were unbuttoned. She asked me to help her with those things. I told her no. I made her button her own belt buckle and pants. She took my hand, put it on her abs. She's very fit, and said to me, aren't my abs great? And I pulled my hand away, and I said, yes, Nicole, they're fantastic. She couldn't get the top button of her shirt buttoned, and she asked me to help her button it. I leaned in. She grabbed the back of my head, pulled in, gave me a big kiss. I pushed her away, said stop.
But that's not the only sexual advance the woman says Rovig made that night. She laid out the details to a Title IX investigator back in April. The victim says Rovig continued to drink. She had her hands down people's pants, others from other universities, and that she played with several people's hair, kissed people on the lips, tried to stick her tongue in people's mouths, and rubbed people's legs. One woman who worked in the office said she witnessed Rovig kissing and touching other people. When asked who, she said, quote, anybody who would stand still. She kissed me on the lips. She asked if she could kiss me. I guess I said yes. It was weird. It was everybody. My boss said, kiss me. The woman said she agreed to allow her boss to kiss her because she felt she had no choice but to allow the kiss because Rovig is her boss. The report cited other co-workers and officials at other universities who said they didn't see Rovig act in a way that was unusual or improper. Rovig admitted kissing one of the witnesses since she had given consent, but denied ever coming out of the restroom with her pants unbuttoned, asking the victim to touch her abs or forcing her tongue down her throat. Rovig even gave investigators a doctor's note which says Rovig is tongue-tied, which would make it extremely difficult to extend her tongue to the point where she does not use or would not use her tongue while kissing. The victim told co-workers what happened but didn't report it to university authorities. She says she hoped Rovig was too drunk to remember, but says that in the months that followed had a dramatic and devastating effect, and her situation at work went downhill fast. And the Title IX report released in May sided with the victim. Investigators found that Rovig's unwelcome behavior in October of 2016, quote, unreasonably interfered with the woman's employment. It goes on to say that Rovig violated both the sexual harassment and intentional contact sanctions of MSU's relationship violence and sexual misconduct policy. Rovig appealed MSU's finding, but the appeal was turned down just one day after Rovig handed in her resignation. 6 News reached out to Rovig through her attorney, Joseph Parawa, for comment, but he declined, and we did not hear back from Rovig. Late this afternoon, an MSU spokesman released a statement saying the school takes sexual harassment seriously, has policies for it, training to prevent it, and investigates when they get reports. It also says, quote, sexual harassment in any form is unacceptable behavior at MSU, and we take decisive action when it is uncovered. In fact, the victim never did report what happened with Rovig to MSU. She told someone who was required by law to let the university know. As for the victim, she was denied unemployment because records show MSU told state officials she tried to get fired. She has since gotten another job in another state. At this point, she has not filed any lawsuit, and she says the only thing she'd like MSU to do is apologize.
On July 31st, Michiganian James McLuhan is awarded the Medal of Honor, a moment in time an old coach from South Haven says has changed his life dramatically.
It's been a whirlwind, but it's also been fun, and it's been something that is kind of hard. It's so surreal.
Surreal because days are much different now for this Vietnam War hero. To tens of thousands who have been connected to McLuhan over the past 40 years, he's coach, leading 133 teams in football, wrestling, and baseball. A mentor who helped people win, not the man who has seen real war, real sacrifice, real loss.
Just to be standing here being interviewed by you is a real blessing within itself, because I should have been killed or captured about 5 times in the times that I went out to retrieve my fellow soldiers and bring them back into safety.
On May 15th, 1967, about 17 miles northwest of Duc Mo, Vietnam, that Kettles stepped up and saved many lives.
That mission, that day, we inserted some 160 troops. Not too long after they arrived, they were ambushed.
An ambush that prompted a call for more troops.
We were to insert the additional 80 troops and withdraw those who were wounded or otherwise.
After a day-long fight, Kettles says it was clear the American troops would not win the battle.
Battalion commander called for emergency extraction.
Kettles and his crew headed back in once again. His unit landed amid heavy artillery, loaded the troops, and took off. But not long after they got off the ground, he learned 8 soldiers were left behind.
They had been down in the riverbed putting up a last-ditch effort to protect those who were loading and didn't get up to board themselves.
But Kettles knew he had to turn back.
If I leave them there for 10 minutes, they're going to be prisoners of war or they're going to be dead. Immediately after touchdown, our friends from North Vietnam put a mortar round just off the nose of the helicopter, which took out the part of the left and part of the right windshield, took out the chin bubble in front of me.
Heavily damaged and overweight, Kettles' co-pilot struggled to get the chopper off the ground, so Kettles took control.
It did fly. I wasn't sure it was going to, but it did.
4 more women asked to be added to a federal lawsuit against former MSU and USA Gymnastics Dr. Larry Nassar for sexually abusing them, and against Michigan State University for not doing anything about it.
They joined dozens of others who are also alleging sexual abuse by Nassar, saying he used his hands internally for what he claimed were treatments.
Tonight, another one of the women suing Nassar is telling her story. She spoke exclusively with our Alexandra Illich. We go to her now live in the studio for more. Allie?
Lauren and Sherry, in the lawsuit filed on her behalf, she's listed as Jane Doe BMSU. But after talking with her today, I found out she's a wife and mother. She asked that we not show her face or reveal her name. It wasn't easy for her to tell her story today. She says it wasn't easy for her 2 decades ago when she brought her concerns to an MSU gymnastics coach. But she says she's speaking out tonight to empower and encourage young girls, women, or anyone who believes they may be a victim of Dr. Larry Nassar to speak up.
I felt betrayed by Kathy. And, you know, he said what he was doing was medical treatment and that he was doing it to help my back. I just told myself that I wasn't going to talk about it anymore because it was obviously me that was the one thinking of it wrong. I had to convince myself of that in order to, I guess, survive through it.
6 News has spoken exclusively with some of the people suing Nassar. They're all listed as Jane Doe on the lawsuits, but tonight one of those Jane Does wants you to know who they are.
Our Alexandra Illich is the only local TV reporter she's spoken to. She's here for you now live in the studio with her story. Allie?
Lauren and Sherry, among the dozens of women and girls who have been added to this civil suit against Nassar, you'll find the name Jane Doe BMSU. We shared her story with you last month when she anonymously reflected on the nearly 20 years of her life that were changed forever as a result of an MSU doctor and gymnastics coach. She says she was silenced and lost her sight of identity. Tonight she's speaking out again to make herself known, hoping to empower others to come forward like she did.
You may know me as BMSU in the filings of the complaint. But my name is Larissa Boyce, and I'm calling all survivors of sexual assault or abuse to unite.
It's not easy to talk about sexual assault. In fact, it was far from a simple task for Larissa Boyce nearly 2 decades ago at the age of 16, when she says she was silenced by then MSU gymnastics coach Kathy Klages after raising concerns about treatments by former MSU doctor Larry Nassar.
We have breaking details of a new lawsuit against Nassar that claims the university knew about the alleged abuse for years.
We begin our coverage with Alexandra Illich. She's here for you live in the studio with more on the latest lawsuit. Allie?
Sherry and Lauren, 2 different motions were filed today, both seeking to add plaintiffs to a federal lawsuit against Dr. Larry Nassar. The one I'm going to tell you about names current MSU gymnastics coach Kathy Klages, who has been coaching MSU gymnastics for the last 27 years. This complaint, which was filed this morning, reveals that employees at Michigan State University were told that Dr. Nassar was abusing athletes as far back as the late 1990s. According to the complaint, Nassar would tell the MSU athlete to take her pants off and then use his hands internally for what he claimed were treatments.
And what may be the latest domino to fall, the first known suspension that could be related to the Larry Nassar case was announced today. MSU Associate Athletic Director Richard Bader sent out an email this afternoon. That email reads in part, I write this afternoon to update you that Coach Klages was suspended from her coaching duties this morning. While the university does not disclose specific information about personnel actions, I do wish to assure you that the team continues to have our complete support.
A woman accusing Larry Nassar of sexually abusing her takes the stand to tell her story, and a judge says it's enough to send the doctor to trial. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones.
And I'm Lauren Thompson. We want to begin tonight with a warning. The testimony that you're about to hear in the case against Larry Nassar is graphic.
In fact, it's too graphic for children, but it's these details that a judge considered when deciding if there was enough evidence to send Nassar to trial.
A trial that could carry up to life in prison for the former MSU and USA Gymnastics team doctor.
Alexandra Illich was inside the courtroom this morning. She's here for you now live with the very latest. Allie.
The hearing lasted for nearly 3 hours as the witness described how Larry Nassar sexually assaulted her in his own home for nearly 7 years, starting when she was just 6 years old. As Sherry and Lauren just said, this testimony is graphic and not suitable for younger viewers.
I remember it was dark in that room, and he was standing in front of me, and he had his pants down.
I know that you were able to get Larry Nassar's personnel file from Michigan State, weren't you?
Yep, and here it is right here, Sherry. In it, documents show that the Meridian Township Police Department and the Ingham County Prosecutor's Office looked into a complaint against Nassar 13 years ago when a patient complained about a medical procedure. MSU officials say that medical procedure is similar to current accusations against Nassar, which claim he performed procedures without gloves and without medical staff in the room, which the university required in 2014. Larry Nassar will face 60 years in prison for child pornography and obstruction of justice, the first of 3 sentences he'll face after pleading guilty to a number of crimes. During a plea hearing in federal court this morning, Larry Nassar admitted to having 37,000 videos and images of child pornography. Without hesitation, the former MSU and USA Gymnastics doctor pleaded guilty to 3 counts, including the receipt of child pornography, possession of child pornography, and destruction and concealment of records.
How do you plead?
Guilty as stated, Your Honor.
Count.
Months of accusations and legal drama led up to that very moment. Today, former MSU and USA Gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar pleading guilty to the charges against him.
The 6 News team has all the details and is ready to break down what happened and what the future holds for Nassar and his victims. The story of Larry Nassar shocked the capital area and the nation.
Our Alexander Illich has been following the drama for more than a year now, and she joins us with the very latest. Allie?
Larry Nassar has maintained his innocence in the state cases against him, saying the treatments he performed were accepted medical techniques. But that all changed today. Now, before we take you inside the courtroom, I want to warn you, some of what you're about to hear is graphic.
Count 5. Criminal sexual conduct, first degree, relationship, victim C. How do you plead?
Guilty.
In a packed courtroom with several of his accusers listening, Larry Nassar pleaded guilty to 7 counts of criminal sexual conduct in connection with 7 victims.
With respect to count 8, victim D, do you agree that between May 9th, 2014 and May 8th, 2015, you sexually penetrated victim D by putting your finger into her vagina?
Yes.
Nassar faces a minimum sentence of 25 to 40 years when an Ingham County judge sentences him in January.
For all those involved, and that I'm so horribly sorry that this was like a match that turned into a forest fire out of control. And I pray the rosary every day for forgiveness I want them to heal.
It was at this moment some of Larry Nassar's victims felt vindicated but disgusted at the very same time.
I think my jaw almost hit the floor.
I honestly think he did that to make himself feel better. I'm sure he wants healing and this and that because he does feel guilty about what he did. But to me, it doesn't mean anything.
An understandably callous reaction because to these 3 victims, Nassar's sorry was simply another skew of the truth.
He is a master manipulator.
How do you plead to count 1?
Guilty, Your Honor.
You need to speak up, sir.
Guilty, Your Honor.
A new week, a new courtroom.
How do you plead to count 2?
Guilty, Your Honor.
A similar confession.
And how do you plead to count 8?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Larry Nassar admitted to sexually abusing young women and girls.
Do you agree that between June 13th, 2010 and June 12th, 2011, that you sexually penetrated victim B by putting your finger into her vagina?
Yes.
It's the people, the culture, the society that is MSU that right now just seems to breed negativity.
For months, Jessica Smith has been known as Jane Doe. She is seeking justice after claiming Larry Nassar sexually abused her. Discouraged by how this past year has played out, she now wants the world to know who she is, with hopes of becoming the face of change.
MSU has so much power that, they hired this man, and I trusted that and believed in that.
I want MSU and USA Gymnastics to be leaders of that change.
that would give them integrity.
Larissa Boyce revealed her name and identity back in March with hopes to empower other women and girls to come forward like she did.
It's the silence that is painful.
She's speaking out again, this time to send a message to MSU.
We're victims and we deserve answers.
She believes MSU's handling of the Nassar scandal has been insensitive.
There's been only silence from MSU.
Live from WLNS TV, this is 6 News at 6.
We've seen massive trees toppled, school roofs ripped off, live power lines torn down, and the damage is still piling up from these wild winds. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thompson.
And I'm Sherry Jones. It has been a chaotic day across our state.
Winds clocking in at more than 50 miles an hour continue to batter most of Michigan.
Hundreds of thousands of people are without power, and it could be days until it comes back on. Here's what we're seeing at this very hour. Consumers Energy has more than 200,000 customers in the dark. More than 3,700 of them are in Clinton County. Eaton County has more than 5,000 customers without power. Nearly 7,000 people in Ingham County are also waiting for the lights to come back on. And right now, Jackson County is the hardest hit in mid-Michigan with nearly 20,000 outages. And outage totals continue to climb for customers of the Lansing Board of Water and Light. Right now, there are nearly 19,000 outages across their coverage area. Their outage map estimates it will take days to get the power back up and running in some places. So we're definitely not out of the woods when it comes to even more outages later tonight.
Meteorologist Eric Estriva is here for you now in the Weather Center with an update. Eric?
Yeah, you guys are exactly right. We are definitely not out of the woods yet, but luckily we only have another few hours of these very strong winds. I want to show you the winds currently outside right now. These are sustained winds. You can see sustained at 29 miles per hour, sustained 23 in Jackson, Howell, Flint, and Alma. Now these are sustained winds. Now when we add those wind gusts, these are the wind gusts that are currently being reported. Still winds gusting up towards 60 miles per hour in Lansing, closer to 40 in Jackson, same thing around Grand Rapids and Howell, but even 58 miles per hour still being reported at Kalamazoo. But we're starting to see those winds taper off just slightly. We're going to continue to see that trend throughout the evening hours, especially overnight and definitely by tomorrow morning. But again, these evening winds will continue to stay strong. It's overnight and tomorrow morning. That's when we're really going to start to see things weaken and taper off. So by tomorrow morning, just a small breeze at about 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the west. Sherry and Allie. Lauren.
Thank you, Eric. Well, the high winds are taking a serious toll on a historic church in downtown Lansing.
Earlier today, the 100-year-old walls of St. Paul's Episcopal Church started showing signs of cracking.
Officials fear that it could collapse at any moment. We do have a crew there for hours now, and our Alicia Bergio is here for you live with an update tonight. Alicia, what's the latest?
Lauren, Sherry, these gusting winds are intense today. People in the church say at 11:30 this morning they noticed insulation coming through the building. Then they saw the walls move. Those inside at the time also say when looking at the ceiling, they could see light from outside, which caused immediate concern. The church is directly across the street from the state capitol. Now, what you're looking at right now is the brick on the front of the outside of the church. If you look closely, you can see it's slightly pushed out. Now, as you can imagine, the news has shocked people, including the church's minister.
I wanted to say that first to the community of St. Paul's, hang in there. That building's been there 100 years, and it may not be there much longer, but there'll be a new building there, and we as a community are strong, and God's with us. I also want to say that the surrounding community, particularly our Methodist brothers and sisters, have been really helpful in offering any help they can. So we'll be fine. It's just going to take a while.
Right now, the church is being watched by Lansing police and is blocked off. We've been told a crew will be here tomorrow to inspect the church. If it does, given it does not collapse before then, we'll continue to stay on top of the story and give you updates as soon as we learn more. Here for you live in downtown Lansing, Alicia Bergio, 6 News.
All right, thanks, Alicia. Well, communities all across Michigan are experiencing widespread damage from today's powerful winds.
Our Jackson Bureau reporter Aaron Dimmick gives us a look at the damage there and what utility crews are doing to get the power back on for thousands of customers.
High winds have been causing chaos all over Jackson County. Trees have been crashing down onto roads, power lines, and as you can see behind me, homes. This morning around 9:30, Michael Bauman looked out his kitchen window and witnessed Mother Nature's fury.
I saw it standing and saw it just slowly fall, hit the house.
Ferocious winds brought down the massive pine tree on Crescent Road, hitting 2 homes and causing a natural gas leak. It's just one of countless wind-related mishaps all over Jackson County. Terry DeDose from Consumers Energy says repair crews are doing their best to keep up.
We are in storm mode. Our crews are on 16-hour shifts. We're going around the clock.
With so many lines down in different locations, this wind event has created many challenges.
And there are damage assessment teams that are out there determining what needs to be done in certain areas, what resources we need, and where we need to work now to restore the most customers in the least amount of time.
This home has extensive damage to its roof. The family who lives here can't stay in the house until the tree is removed and the structure is inspected.
I've been here 48 years. This is the first thing like this that I remember.
Consumers Energy says it has so many power outages throughout the state, it doesn't know when power will be fully restored. Here for you in Jackson, Aaron Dimmick, 6 News.
Thank you, Aaron. More than 200 children had to be evacuated in West Michigan after the wind tore off the roof of an elementary school. It happened at the Lakewood Early Childhood Child Center in Barry County's Woodland Township. School officials say they were having an assembly when they started to notice the roof coming undone. They quickly told the kids to start doing a tornado drill to get them moved into a nearby high school. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Here's a look at another wrecked roof. This time it's the Quality Dairy on North Main Street in Eaton Rapids. The winds tore off the whole middle section of that roof. The store was closed while crews climbed up to take a look at the damage.
Moving now to Ann Arbor, where the winds took a toll on a plane that was set to carry the University of Michigan men's basketball team to Washington, D.C. for the Big Ten tournament. They were set to take off from the Willow Run Airport, but the jet went off the runway after they had to abort takeoff. Now, thankfully, nobody was hurt, but you can't say the same thing about the plane itself. The university says it's making alternate travel plans to get the team to D.C. And back here in mid-Michigan, the winds kept the phones ringing off the hook at Eaton County Central Dispatch today. Our crews were inside as a team of dispatchers took calls and monitored radio traffic. Officials there say it's been a day unlike they've ever seen.
I do not remember a wind event like this sustained for this long. We are double the calls that we would normally take at this time of day. We took 130 calls in the last hour, and that is, it doesn't seem very high, but on a normal day, that might be around 70.
Consumers Energy is also working overtime. We spoke with the Vice President of Energy Delivery at Consumers just a short time ago.
And she says her company's crews will be dealing with trying to get the power back on for more than 200,000 customers currently in the dark. And she warns customers to stay safe as well.
Aware of wires that might be down. They need to keep kids, pets, cars, things away. And even if a wire is on a fence, something that's metallic, that could be energized, and so they really need to be extra careful. We are looking right now at restoring all customers by the end of Saturday.
We will, of course, continue to follow the aftermath of today's brutal winds.
And we'll be here for you with outages and updates online and on air. We also have resources on our website where you can check out our outage maps in your area. You'll find it under Scene on 6 at WLNS.com.
This is Weather First from Storm Tracker 6, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people.
Well, as the winds continue to howl at this hour, most of the damage has already been done. Want to show you a few more pictures that were sent in to us on our social tracker, starting things off with a tree actually on top of a car. This one's sent in to us by Brianna Ruzinski. Hopefully everyone made it out of the car by that time. Hopefully everyone's safe after that. But also many trees being uprooted. You can see this tree being uprooted in the backyard of Tom Schaefer's house. Just a huge tree knocked down by those winds. Also another tree, about 100 years plus old tree in Grand Ledge being uprooted as well. We also have more pictures of trees on roadways, blocking traffic. Hopefully everyone is safe around that area as well. And going to end things with one more picture of a spruce tree down on Grand River Drive in Grand Ledge. If you guys have any more pictures that you want to send us, also a gazebo that just looks completely destroyed. This one's sent in to us by Debbie out in Nashville, Michigan. If you have any more pictures that you want to send it to us, you can send it into all of the meteorologists' Facebook page or the WLNS Facebook page. We'd love to continue to show them throughout the broadcast today. But here are a look at the peak winds already today. 64 miles per hour peak wind in Lansing, 62 in Jackson and Ionia. Grand Rapids even saw a peak wind of 64 miles per hour. And Detroit Metro Airport, 68 miles per hour. Winds still very strong right now. 58 miles per hour, the current wind gust. Lansing, 39 in Alma, 38 in Grand Rapids. Still seeing 58 being reported in Kalamazoo. 39 is the current wind gust in Jackson. These winds going to stay strong through the evening hours, likely subsiding overnight and into the morning hours. But one key factor to these winds is the very sunny skies that help to warm the ground up and allowed for much of the stronger winds aloft to be translated down to the surface. That's why we're seeing the very strong winds, but also the pressure difference between this very strong low pressure up to our north and a very strong high pressure down to our south. The pressure difference in between those two, we're kind of smack dab right in the middle, and the winds are just being channeled right into our area. Temperatures right now, not too bad. 45 degrees Lansing, 47 in Jackson, 49 in Adrian, 44 Howell and Flint, only 39 degrees in Mount Pleasant. And when you go north of Mount Pleasant, we're actually seeing some snow being reported from that system as it continues to move off to our north. We are not going to be dealing with anything rain or snow wise tonight, but as we head towards tomorrow afternoon and evening, that's when another system will move off to our south. We could see a few isolated rain and snow showers tomorrow afternoon and evening, but I think the majority of the day we will stay dry with just mostly cloudy skies. That system will move off to our south, leaving just partly cloudy skies for the end of the week. But once that system does move out of the area, we are going to be much chillier than what we were seeing today or tomorrow. Temperatures back into the upper 20s for highs, and we're going to continue with those partly cloudy conditions into the start of the weekend as well. Tonight, 27 degrees, diminishing winds. Remember, winds will stay strong into the evening hours, likely diminishing overnight and for the morning hours tomorrow. Just west at 5 to 10 tomorrow, so much lighter winds. 40 degrees, a couple p.m. rain and snow showers possible. Friday, partly cloudy conditions. Same thing on Saturday, but temperatures back into the upper 20s, well below average for this time of the year. And remember, we do fall forward, so we do lose an hour of sleep as we head towards Saturday and Sunday. Here's a look at Traffic Tracker. Do want to show you a couple areas of note in the greater Lansing area. You can see where the yellows, oranges, and reds are popping up, likely around those stoplights that are not working right now. Saginaw Street, Grand River near Michigan Avenue, and also a couple slowdowns if you're heading southbound on US 127 near the 496 interchange. Also, one area of note, this is south of Eaton Rapids. This road is closed. It's M99 due to a couple fall in power cables, so both directions near M50 on Clinton Trail, and one more stop in the Jackson area. Not too bad here, but again, remember, with those high profile vehicles, want to take it easy.
Yeah, and driving, anything you're doing outside, want to be looking up.
Right.
Absolutely, take your extra time.
Yeah.
Don't park your cars near any trees as well.
Right. Thanks, Eric. We're still ahead on 6 News. The case against Larry Nassar continues to develop. We'll tell you who's now also being named as defendants in a federal lawsuit involving the former MSU doctor. That story straight ahead. Stay with us. We continue our coverage on the case against Larry Nassar, and it's a case that continues to expand its reach.
Over the past several months, we've told you about what the former Michigan State University and USA Gymnastics doctor is accused of, along with the federal and state charges that he's facing.
And while Nassar has pleaded not guilty to all of his charges, it hasn't stopped dozens of women and girls from suing the doctor and Michigan State University.
There are currently 6 civil lawsuits that name Nassar as a defendant, but that list of defendants is growing.
Our Alexander Illich joins us now live in studio to tell us about a new complaint that lists 5 new names to an existing federal lawsuit.
Sherry and Lauren, attorneys David Middleman and Mick Graywall, who represent a dozen alleged victims of Nassar, filed an amendment complaint this morning looking to do something that hasn't been done in this case before. Add 5 individuals other than Larry Nassar as defendants in this federal lawsuit. Those defendants include a former MSU gymnastics coach and 2 current MSU doctors. They include former MSU gymnastics coach Kathy Klages, MSU's current director of sports medicine and performance Jeffrey Kovan, MSU's dean of osteopathic medicine William Strample, former MSU clinical psychologist Gary Stolick, and owner of Twist Stars USA Gymnastics Club John Gedart. The complaint accuses all 5 defendants of playing a role in Nassar's alleged sexual abuse, whether they ignored concerns brought to them or didn't fulfill their duty as mandatory reporters. Now, because this is an ongoing investigation, MSU is limited in what they can say about these allegations as they emerge. What we do know is this. MSU says it was not aware of any complaints against Nassar until 2014. School officials investigated the complaint. Nassar was fired from MSU in September of 2016. MSU police say as of right now, he's facing more than 20 charges of first-degree criminal sexual conduct. He's also facing federal child pornography charges. Nassar has maintained his innocence in both state and federal court and says the treatments he performed on his patients were accepted medical techniques. I'll be back with more details on these new developments in the case against Larry Nassar later tonight on 6 News at 11.
All right, thanks, Allie. Well, 6 News at 6 will be back right after this.
This is 6 Sports.
Michigan State's basketball team traveled to Washington, D.C. today, and the team has arrived safely. Who will the Spartans play tomorrow at 2:30 in the Big Ten tournament? Well, that's being determined right now. MSU will face the winner of the Penn State-Nebraska game being played at this hour. That game is late in the second half. Penn State leading by 7 at last check with under 4 minutes to play. By the way, even though the MSU team is in Washington, they are not watching this game. They are instead touring the African American Museum in D.C. at this hour and will watch the game on tape later. Good for them. Spartans say they're ready and raring to go for the second season.
It's exciting. You know, it's something I've never done before. You know, I'm a freshman, so this is all new to me. So I'm just going along, you know, for the ride. But, you know, it's a little different. You have a little different emotions, you know, kind of curiosity and, you know, like you said, excitement. But overall, I'm just ready to go out there and play.
We just feel like we're ready, you know. All this year, the whole year, we've been through a bunch of challenges, a bunch of tough stretches, but you know, it's a new season. Everyone's 0-0, and we feel like we're ready. The message about this time of year is usually the same. You know, this is Spartan basketball. This is what we do. So, I mean, I think we're battle tested. I think we're ready for March.
All right, I mentioned MSU has arrived there safely because Michigan plays tomorrow at 12 noon against Illinois, but the Wolverines had real travel issues today trying to get to Washington. As you heard earlier in this newscast, the team plane could not get off the ground in high winds, slid off the runway at Willow Run Airport near Ann Arbor. Nobody was injured, but the aircraft sustained significant damage. Plane was evacuated. Everyone was safe. 109 passengers, 7 crew members. Team band was also aboard the flight that was aborted. The team is making other travel arrangements to get to Washington, D.C. for tomorrow's game. In fact, we're hearing the team may not get out tonight, may not leave till tomorrow morning, and they have a 12 noon game. All right, the high winds causing havoc with at least one of the boys' high school district semifinal sites tonight. The scheduled games at Mason have been postponed. A power outage at Mason High School is moving the Holt versus Parma Western game and the Mason versus Okemos game to tomorrow night. The other district matchups are all set, including 2 games at Lansing Eastern's Don Johnson Fieldhouse, including DeWitt against Everett going on right now. And the second game, a rematch of last Thursday's regular season finale between Waverly and undefeated East Lansing. The Trojans beat the Warriors Thursday 66-57. EL is 21-0, but you're only as good as your next game, says the coach.
It helps because we've been through the battle. You know, we've played these teams a couple of times now. We played Grand Ledge twice. We know what to expect. We got the bullseye on our back, another cliche, but they're really lessons. People say cliches, but I say they're lessons. We got to teach them every day. Hey, guys, you got the bullseye on your back. You got to be ready.
Brand new season, start over. That must be fun for you guys. Huh?
Definitely. It's just everything's out the window now. It's like, let's go play. Nothing matters, so let's go play. So guys are ready.
All right, I'd love to stay around and visit, but I got to get to a ball game. So Sherry and Lauren, I'll leave it to you and see you later.
All right, drive safe, Fred.
We'll be back next with a final look at your forecast and where things stand on these winds. Stay with us.
Well, the winds are definitely causing power outages that people are having to deal with at this hour.
Yeah, it's been a wicked day already. We're going to start to see those winds subsiding a little bit this evening, more so overnight. We do have a high wind warning continuing until 7 o'clock, but even after that, we're likely going to hang on to the very breezy conditions overnight. And tomorrow morning, that's when the winds are likely going to get very calmer, much calmer by tomorrow morning. We're just left with a couple afternoon rain and snow showers for our day on Thursday, back up towards 40 degrees. But once that system's through, 28 and 27 by the end of the week and into the start of the weekend, well below average for this time of the year. It's been a really rocky spring and winter as we head towards spring.
Right, spring ahead this weekend, in fact, but we're starting the weekend 10 degrees. 10 degrees.
I know. And we do encourage any of you that have pictures of downed trees, down power lines, anything like that, to please send them to our Facebook page.
Have a great evening.
See you at 11.